Hello, ladies and gentlemen, and a very warm welcome to Evolving Consciousness. I'm your host Purushottam, and in today's video, we are going to discuss two stories which have deep meanings embedded in them. And I would guarantee you that towards the end of this video, you are going to take away with you few gems of wisdom, which, if you deeply understand, will completely shift your concepts of certain belief systems. And these two things, these two lessons, which I'm going to talk about, the lessons which we are going to derive out of these two stories, is something every human being is chasing. So, without further ado, let us get started with the first story. Now, this first story is about Lord Krishna. Now, Lord Krishna's pastimes is tons of content in itself. Every Leela of the Lord has so much to offer in terms of learnings, in terms of just fanhood, in terms of just being in absolute awe of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Because everything has such powerful lessons embedded that probably even 1,000 years from today, we will still be relishing the timeless pastimes of Lord Krishna. One such pastime, one such incident which really captivated my attention, and I thought I'll share this particular story in the video. So it so happened that Lord Krishna was having a severe headache one day, right? So it might be amusing that Lord is having a headache. But it so happened that he had a severe headache one day. And Narada Muni was just having a conversation, just comes to visit Lord Krishna, and he sees him in suffering a severe headache. So he asks him, because he's an ardent devotee of the Lord, Lord, how can I serve you? How can I sort of help you out of this headache? So Lord Krishna tells him, can you please get me the dust of a pure devotee of mine, so that if I put that dust on my head or my forehead, my headache would vanish. Now Narada Muni, he goes to the different devotees. He first approaches his different wives as to, this is what Lord Krishna is going through. He's going through a severe headache, and he has asked me to get the dust of the feet of any one of his pure devotee, right? So he first approaches his wives. When the wives first hear this, they are very much astonished, and they vehemently reject the idea, because as per their concept, they said that if we even dare to think of this particular aspect, wherein we are going to give the dust of our feet, so that Lord Krishna puts it in his head and he gets relieved, this is an absolute sin, and our voyage to hell will be destined if we do that. So they reject it. So they say, Narad Muni, sorry, we cannot help you. So Narad Muni goes to a couple of other people, and he is again rejected with failure, because nobody wants to travel to hell and suffer, because they all knew that Lord Krishna was God himself, and doing such a insulting activity or engaging in such an insulting endeavor would sort of guarantee the ticket to hell. And everybody rejected it. Everybody said that, sorry Narad Muni, we cannot help you. So what happens is, somebody among the group of pure devotees says Narad Muni to approach the Vrindavan gopis, right? So Narad Muni goes there. And as soon as Narad Muni tells what Lord Krishna is going through, immediately one of the gopis takes the dust out of her feet and hands it over to Narad Muni. Narad Muni is absolutely shocked and baffled. He says, my dear devotee, my dear Gopi Maharani, don't you realize what you have just done? The shortcut to hell is a guarantee for you. You probably are not aware, or probably you are naive to the possibility that you are giving the dust of your feet to put on the Lord's head, don't you consider this as a sinful act? Now the gopi with a smile on her face says, I know that the ticket to hell for me is guaranteed, right? I will probably go to hell. But what is more important for me is the relief of my Lord Krishna, is the relief of my Lord Krishna, even if it is at the cost of my suffering. Now, this is such a powerful story and such a beautiful story, which sort of gives us what true love means. Oftentimes, human beings don't even understand what true love is, right? The definition of true love is that you are sort of giving the person a certain thing, and as an exchange of that, that other person also gives things which you need. So essentially, it boils down to a business transaction. A boy likes a girl seldom because of her inner qualities, but because of her physical appearances. A girl likes a boy seldom because of his inner qualities, but because of his material accomplishments, his degrees, his achievements, his accolades. Now, isn't this a very filthy business transaction in the name of love? It is considered to be probably the highest sacred emotions which any human being can embody. This story of Lord Krishna's pastime is an exemplary example of what it means when we talk about true love and when we talk about this concept of eternal love. Love in its very essence is unconditional. The love which we hear about, which we see in today's modern day, that is not love. That is basically a conditional transaction. You fulfill my needs, I fulfill your needs. And till the time this balance is sort of kept, everything seems very beautiful. And in one point of time, when this balance is sort of navigated or shifted or misaligned, everything turns apart. All those beautiful messages, all those beautiful talks about unconditional love, they are rejected, they are reduced to mere words. This is the reason why we all should read our scriptures and understand the captivating messages which Lord showcased through his various pastimes. Now, this is one of the pastimes. There are countless pastimes of Lord Krishna in the Srimad Bhagavatam, which is considered as the Mahapuran, and there are so many hidden lessons for every human being in this planet. But our attention doesn't go towards those lessons. We are so much mesmerized by the glamour of the world that we are absolutely forgotten, and we are absolutely naive to the possibility of the things which we are chasing in the wrong places. These things need to be chased in the right places. We don't even know that the things which we want, we are not looking in the right places. And that's the reason we are not finding them. Now, this story also tells us a couple of things about true love, right? Now, this concept wherein the love is reduced to a transaction, wherein I do something, you do something, right? Now, this is a beautiful tit for tat game which we all engage in. And it is sort of not very fair to expect that human beings would be capable of practicing unconditional love. It's a sort of an unfair expectation to have, because we all are sort of conditioned by the material environment, and we have a certain belief system about what true love is, because growing up throughout our childhood, we probably have seen our own parents, we probably have seen the world in general as to what it means to truly love someone, right? And that serves as sort of an example for us as to what basically love is. And probably that definition of love which is there in our conditioned mind, probably that is not true. But because we have been brought up in such an environment, or we are brought up in a society which is subjected to this unconscious conditioning, we don't even know that what we think as love is probably an illusion. Now, this might be a little hard to digest, but if you look at the depth of this, you probably would understand it and resonate with what I am saying. Also, the fact that when we talk about divine consciousness, right, and we all have the deep craving for this emotion called love. Probably there is no human being in this planet who doesn't want to experience this emotion called love. But the problem is that we are sort of chasing this particular emotion of love in the wrong places. And that's why what used to be an absolutely perfect situation turns topsy-turvy when situations are not aligned with the expectations of two people. Hence, it's very important to go within to understand what true love means. And this also gives us a very important concept as to what do you mean by a eternal soulmate, right? We all talk about soulmates, but according to me and also as per the scriptures, every soul's eternal soulmate is God himself, right? Because let's understand, we are all here for a limited period of time and we all come with a expiry date. And in every costume, if you sort of believe in the concept of reincarnation, now there is no question of believing in the concept of reincarnation, because science has proved, there are innumerable books and researches that substantiate and also prove that reincarnation is a truth. It's not some philosophy. And this was also talked about by Lord Krishna in huge detail, that what is this concept of reincarnation. And if you think about it, right, every lifetime you leave your body and you move to another costume. When I talk about costume, I'm referring it to as another body. So essentially, your soulmates keep changing. The soulmate, as per the definition of the world, that definition keeps changing. But there's one supreme personality of Godhead who's sort of there with you throughout, even when you feel that he's not. Right? Now, there's a beautiful story. There's another story which just came into my mind when I was talking about this concept. So it so happens that God and a particular devotee, they used to play across the beach, right? And it so happened that they could see each other's footprints on the wet sand when things were great in the life of a devotee. And after some time, what happens is, when things were not so good, they can only see one pair of footprints over the wet sand. So the devotee is actually perplexed and sort of feels remorse within himself that probably God left me when things were not so good in my life. After a few days, God comes in his dream and tells him, "My dear devotee, you probably have mistaken. Those footprints which you see when times in your life were not good, those footprints are not yours, but those footprints are mine. And I was carrying you all along in the midst of all the chaos happening in your life." Albert Camus put it so beautifully. He said, "In the midst of winter, there was within me an invincible summer. In the midst of winter, there was within me an invincible summer." This is how we limited our perceptions. At times we don't understand why things have happened the way it has happened, but everything is happening as per the whims and fancies of that cosmic intelligence. Whether you believe it or not, it's not a question of faith, it's the absolute truth. It's as simple as the law of gravity. Now, even before Newton discovered the law of gravity existed, right? Now, even if people didn't believe in law of gravity, it still existed. Same is the case with God and the cosmic intelligence. Even if you believe in God or you don't believe in God, it makes no difference. So essentially, the point I was trying to drive in this first story was the true love is truly unconditional. And the only person or the only consciousness with whom we can practice what true love is with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. the cosmic intelligence. Or you can also, if you subscribe to the philosophy of the Advaita school of thought, which talks about the Brahman within ourselves, Aham Brahmasmi, even then it sort of points you to a very subtle point that if you reflect within, if you want to find the source of love, you need to go within. And in a way, is pondering, is sort of hinting you, driving you towards reflecting within and stop chasing things outside. Hence, I hope this first story was really powerful for you to give a new lens to view this emotion called love. And now you will have a very realistic and a very practical understanding of what true love is. And when somebody is telling you that they love you unconditionally, now you can judge better whether that person is just offering mere lip service or does that person really mean what he's saying. Now, coming to story number 2. Now, this story is about a renowned saint in the Bhakti culture. This story is about Sanatan Goswami. Now, Sanatan Goswami was a person who used to be consumed in the Harinam Kirtan, in the constant repetition of the holy names of Lord Krishna. And his vigor and exuberance was widespread across the community in which he was staying. One fine day, Sanatan Goswami is sort of meditating outside his residence. And it so happened that one person approaches Sanatan Goswami and he says that, Swami, I have heard that you are a rishi of great powers and you are a rishi of great reverence. Can you please help me out from this financial situation which I am going through? I am going through a financial calamity. I am in a desperate need of money. So initially, Sanatan Goswami ignores this person and is consumed in the Hari Kirtan or in the recollection of Krishna. He is absolutely subdued in the consciousness of remembering the Lord. After a couple of hours, Sanatan Goswami opens his eyes, and when he sees this person pleading and begging for his mercy as to how I can improve my financial condition, please grant me with a benediction so that I can sort of elevate myself financially. Sanatan Goswami points him towards a stone and he says, just pick that stone up and your problem will be solved. So this person, he is little confused. He sees that stone and at the very first sight, it seems like an ordinary stone. But because of Sanatan Goswami's prowess, he approaches the stone and he lifts that huge stone. To his utter surprise, he finds a stone which is called as the Parasmani, or the philosopher's stone. Now, the philosopher's stone is a stone which is capable of converting anything into gold. In those days, people were well aware of the mechanics of alchemy, and this stone had the potential to do that. Now, this person happily takes this stone and he goes back home, right? And towards his voyage back home, he suddenly thinks about something to himself. As to one thing was something which was very mesmerizing to him, that this stone which was lying close to the proximity of Swamiji was always there and he knew about it. But he is consumed in a certain practice or a certain aspect which is not even giving him attraction to the most beautiful, materially opulent thing which is ever available, right? The thing which is probably the most precious thing from a material standpoint, that is not captivating the attention of this saint. That means there is something more superior this person has experienced, as this person has, which is even superior to this Parasmani or the philosopher's stone. Now this builds up tremendous inquisitiveness in the mind of this person, and he goes back to Sanatan Goswami and asks him that, can you even give me at least 5% of what you are experiencing? Because it seems even superior to this material opulence. And after that, that person becomes an ardent devotee of Sanatan Goswami and starts practicing the ancient, powerful practice of Bhakti Yoga. Now, what does this story tell us? Now, this story tells us a lot of different aspects, right? Number one, it emphasizes the power of bhakti. Now, even if you are not someone who is interested in bhakti, right, it also gives a very subtle message. It says that happiness is not outside, it's not in chasing the material things and acquiring great material objects, but essentially the source of happiness is within. The tragedy is we are all chasing material things for happiness. Now, this doesn't tell us that we should stop chasing our material goals or we should stop chasing those material opulences. All this is trying to tell us is to change the intention behind the chasing. We shouldn't chase those material objects for happiness. Instead, we should be happy chasing them. Do you understand the subtle shift in consciousness which we are going through? Because when we are chasing something for happiness, there can only be two possibilities. Either you achieve that or you don't achieve that, right? Now, even if you achieve that, there's no guarantee that you're always going to be satisfied. You probably would need something which is even bigger than what you have acquired. So, this quench for happiness is never ending. And in case you don't get what you were striving for, in case you don't get what you sort of attached the entire happiness of your life in that particular thing, in case you don't get that, you will be submerged in this ocean of lamentation and you will probably be absolutely depressed. Isn't both these ways a foolish way to function? Sure, we need to have goals, but to think that even after achieving this goal, I will be absolutely happy is a foolish aspect. It's a foolish thing to function, foolish way to function. This also happened in my own life, right? So when I was trying for the IITs, I always thought that if I get into IIT, then my life is set. After I entered into IIT, that happiness, that sense of achievement was there for some amount of time. But after that, it sort of died down. Then there were certain other kind of challenges. Then the job was the next big thing. And in the job, my dream company was the next big thing. I'm fortunate enough to sort of graduate from IIT, also work in my dream company. But even after working in my dream company, that did not quench the thirst of my happiness. Then I began to ponder that probably chasing these things is not wrong. Chasing these things is perfectly fine. But am I chasing them with the expectation that I will be happy after achieving them? That expectation is wrong. We can be happy chasing them. But if we think that I'm not going to be happy chasing them and the fulfillment of that particular aspect, that grant of that particular desire, happening of that particular desire in my life, that will give me happiness. That is an absolutely catastrophic way to live. I hope these two stories were absolutely enlightening for you and gave us the two most requirements of every human being, love and happiness. Every person is sort of so much consumed in the insatiable hunger for these two emotions. Think about it deeply. And you will see that whatever anyone is doing, it's essentially for these two things. No matter if you're even going outside and roaming around, you essentially are doing it so that you feel happy. And you will realize that anything you are doing essentially boils down to these two emotions which every human being experiences. I hope my video brought about the location at the right address of these two emotions, because we are sort of trying to find the right person in the wrong location. You are trying to find the right person in the wrong location. So my today's video was an humble attempt to give you the right location and the right address where you can find these two emotions of love and happiness. Thank you so much for your time on my video. If you really like the video, don't forget to share the video with a couple of your friends. Also like it. Also subscribe to my channel if you are enjoying the genre of content I am sharing. Thank you so much and I will meet you in the next video. Bye.